I'm Lamont Holden, also known as TheLetterLBeats, professor of music, audio, and recording technology here at the University of Illinois. And we have our co-host,
Aniyha Jones. So happy to be on. This is episode 2 with us together. This
Yeah,
duo,
yeah.
So I'm excited, man.
and we've been busy, so we haven't potted in a while. The whole squad been
It's
booked
been
and
like
busy.
a month, yeah.
Yeah, it's been about a month. So you know what I'm saying. I seen you on the gram. You know what I mean. Jet setting on flights and
Jet set-
everything. What you got popping?
Oh, man, it's been a lot. So, okay, spring break, we had an episode. School was going, and then we didn't get the chance to pod. And then spring break came, and so I had a lot of traveling. So I was interning with the agency called Grady Sports Agency, and basically it's an NFL agency in NIL. So, man, he was like, we got to travel. I'm like, what's traveling?
Yeah.
So it was like spring break started that Saturday. Then Saturday I went to New York for 2 days, so Saturday, Sunday. And then Sunday, Monday, I went to Detroit. And then we were supposed to go to Miami Tuesday, Wednesday.
Oh, that's crazy.
So it was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot. I was sacrificing my spring break, but just being able to travel with people, and like I got to see New York for the first time, Times Square. I got to go to University of Michigan, see their football facility. So I'm grateful for the experiences, but I was like ready to go home.
I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how that turned out. It looked like some dope experiences. Definitely curious to hear about what you learned.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy because the production staff was talking about this. So last episode, you mentioned that you have a podcast, but you didn't even say the name. You didn't shout it out, nothing. So say more about your podcast a little bit.
Okay. So the summer of 2020, I was like, COVID hit, quarantine hit, freshman year was just killed. And I was trying to figure out, like, I want to be in the sports industry. I'm in the business school. How do I figure out how to tie these two in? Because when I'm at career preps, it's like finance, accounting. And I'm like, I'm a marketing major. How do I figure out how to do that, right? And a lot of people are always saying, like, a lot of people want to be in sports. A lot of people love sports, but what differentiates you? And I was like, getting into podcasting. So I was watching Prince Donnell's podcast, All the Smoke. Like, I'm just watching them, eating them up. And one day, it was May 18th. I remember the exact date. I was watching All the Smoke, and 2 hours had passed. And I'm like, if they got my time for 2 hours about stuff that I talk about all the time with my friends, I could do this.
Yeah.
And I got up, and I was like, I'm going to start a podcast. And so I started researching microphone, etc. And so as a result of that, my product is You're Wrong, Sir. It's a podcast, of course, about sports, but for me, I like to focus on necessary conversations. So you'll hear me say a lot of times unapologetic, uncensored, unfiltered. And LeBron getting 10, 10, and 10 is amazing, but I want to talk about Colin Kaepernick's comparison to the NFL slavery and the NFL combine. And so I want to have conversations in the etymology of things that I think people just look over because it's a new normal and not really understanding, like, why does this happen and why do we do this?
Yeah.
So tune in on all platforms.
You're wrong, sir. And that's dope. That's dope. So, and speaking, I know we got a slate to get to, but you just mentioned Colin Kaepernick. I saw him. He was an honorary captain in Michigan's spring game.
Really?
I think this weekend.
I didn't know that.
And I saw him like throwing passes. Right? You didn't catch this?
Well, no, I didn't see that, but I have seen him when he got on Twitter and was like, he's tired of passing to his trainer and wanted to run routes with people. That's what I seen.
I thought, you know what? When I saw him throwing those passes, I think the headline or whatever I was watching, it was like, is he a good fit for the Seahawks? You know, it's never a better time to go ahead and get, you know, the issue with Colin Kaepernick has never been colder.
Yep.
If y'all want people to stop talking about there not being black head
At
coaches,
all,
you know what I'm saying? Thanks.
Shouts
Shouts out to Bruce Arians, by the way.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But, you know, I think there will never be a better time to have him back in the league, you know, smooth things over. Hey, don't look that way, look this way, you know, because that's how the league is done. They take 3 steps back and then 2 steps forward. So, you know, I think that would be.
I think that's smart.
Yeah.
I think it's really good timing, especially because, like you said, Bruce Arians, and then you have him on the Steelers. And the opportunity only because a black man is the head coach. So you got Mike. But I think that's a really good idea. There will be no perfect time. We know that there are not like 32 more quarterbacks better than him. He's qualified, and the scrutiny that they getting, you need something.
Yeah, you need something, man. Just, you know, listen and help brother out in the meantime. So, my spring break, it was crazy because we were trying to book another date, and I wound up in Atlanta on Off the Porch. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that was, which is like a really weird thing. So, you know, we're doing this this music monetization course with DJ Burnwood.
Right.
He's worked with ASAP Rocky, Gucci Mane.
Come on, drop
you
the
know what I'm
names.
saying? Freddie Gibbs. So, now he's doing this options masterclass, and he brought it to U of I first. And so we've been doing like a press run for that. So I messed around and got busy with that. And we're actually going to have him on campus next week. We're interviewing him on Campus Culture. I know we were talking before we started. So I had forgot I interviewed him on a podcast I used to host. Mm-hmm. And I was telling you one of the things we talked about was he helped to write Gucci Mane's autobiography.
I got to read that.
Yeah, it's a good book. Mm-hmm. It's a really good book. And it's like weird looking back now, like Gucci was the precursor to like all these trap acts you see out now. Like Gucci was that kind of like that exemplar. You know what I'm saying? So that's gonna be an interesting interview. So we got some stuff to get to today.
We got a lot to get to
because a lot happened. We gotta get these takes off. Look, you gonna have to start because I don't even.
We have so many different topics. It's like What do we start with?
Let's just slap them with the truth.
Listen, what's the truth?
Nah, I mean, so we're about a week and a day removed from Will Smith slapping Chris Rock.
Let's do it.
At the Oscars, and we decided that we were going to talk about. I mean, so many people have given takes about it. I thought that it would have ran out of steam by now, but we're still talking about it. Why are we still talking about it?
Ooh. That's a good question. Yeah. I think because of the platform. Where was that? The Oscars.
Yeah.
Like, it's at the Oscars where typically, I mean, for years, entertainers and actors and actresses and black people have complained about not getting the award. We finally get that chance, and one of the most prominent actors ever gets there, and the situation is that. And I think it's also because of, like I said, the Oscars, but the people who are in attendance, who are the majority, people who don't typically have our color. And so when they get on Twitter and they're like, oh my God, we're traumatized, or I just can't believe this happened. It's not going to be,
There's so many angles to this thing because it's the stage, it's the players involved. It's the context of the situation. It's the jokes are so easy. I mean, they write themselves. It took a whole week for somebody to do the Bernie Mac getting off the train from what was it? President? What was it when he ran? Where Chris Rock ran for president? Bernie Mac jumps off the train, just starts smacking everybody. I'm just like, just that one alone was too easy.
What were your thoughts when you initially seen it? I'll tell you mine because I have a different perspective because I read his autobiography.
Okay, so my original thoughts were. Because, see, in hindsight is everything, right? Of course you would rather not have slapped somebody. Well, it happened. There is a right way to do the wrong thing, and he couldn't have did the wrong thing, any writer. And he decided to because Rory Amal, one of my favorite podcasts, right? Rory's theory is he was just going to say something to him. And then because at the last minute he said, Richard. He said, don't call me. He said they think he got slapped ultimately because he called him Richard. That's what really got him slapped. And he was just gonna say something to him. Think about what Chris Rock didn't do, because then that's the other part of the conversation.
He's commendable for that because somebody slapped me on national television. Like, I think one of the reasons he didn't respond, I'm giving him his props for controlling himself, but it was shock. He didn't expect him to slap. It's like, whoa. And then you realize, like, people are watching, and if you watch, like, after, his words were jumbled. He was like, well.
He looking for a producer. He looking for a showrunner. Will. He checking this. What do I do?
What do I do?
Yeah. Listen, okay, another take. I know how much Will loves Jada. We gonna find out how much Jada loves Will.
You stupid.
I said that on Twitter, right? I see what love is as love does, right? I know he loves her. When we gonna see how much? You know what I'm saying?
So, but okay, this is my thing too, right? So there's so much to unpack with this. First, there was like a tweet I seen where somebody said, as a comedian, you have to be careful, not be careful about what you say, but what you choose to put out there, you have to be able to take the reaction, and not excusing what Will did. But first thing that comes to me is the Academy, of course, has to review these jokes. So for her to come out during a Crown Act, and for this to come out, and for her to express how she has had a medical issue with this, nobody saw like, maybe we shouldn't say this. Maybe this was too sensitive.
I think there's something that you get, because I'll be honest, I didn't know she had alopecia, right?
I didn't know either.
But I'm not going to be up on a stage talking about a black woman's hair like that either.
It's like,
it's like 2 or 3 things you can say. Oh, you got your hair done today? Oh, your hair looks great. That's it.
Exactly. And
that's
then
it.
For me, I think that's just a testament to, of course, Chris, like, you decided to say what you wanted to, but the diversity that we've been complaining about within their writing rooms and within the production staff. This is the first time that they've ever had an all-black production staff with Will Packer. And so those were great. But the first thing that I thought about when I saw this was, if you have not watched read his autobiography, do it. First few chapters, something I've noticed and with a lot of successful African-American men, their parents were abusive. So their father usually beat their mother, etc. And Will was the second youngest son, and he had an experience where he was watching his father beat his mother, and he said, like, he just couldn't muster up the courage to help because he always wanted to, like, be a good representation for his dad and make his dad happy. Cool. And as a lesson learned from that, and what he's always felt internally as a little boy, is he was a coward because he didn't help his mom. And so in the first beginning chapters, he vowed to himself that if there was any other time if somebody disrespects a woman that's important to him or close to him, he would not let it happen again. And so I think people don't understand it's a lot deeper than it looks on the surface. And so I think that moment was triggering for him.
I think he's very convicted and he's a man of his word. 'Cause I know what it is to be that. And when that light bulb goes off and you said, no, I said I would do this, I think that's kind of ultimately.
And Jada's reaction too. Like, you see her. But I have a question for you. University. I have never had a black professor, only once here on this campus, right? And it was an African-American studies class. Yeah. But you being a professor just here at this PWI and also within the music program, what is the kind of limit for, because everybody's response is Stephen A. first came. He should have known how to control himself and you don't do that at the Oscars, etc. But why is it our responsibility as black people to know how to conform in white spaces and know how to conduct ourselves, and we never demand the same of them?
I say that's what this conversation is really about. I'm watching Winning Time on HBO.
I didn't watch it yet. I gotta watch it.
It's a dope show, but this episode 5 was Kareem was really conflicted about having Magic on the team because, Kareem came from a time where, black people were taking hold of the voice and being leaders of their community. Yeah. And he saw a lot of what Magic did as buffoonery, and he's trying to talk to him about how to comport himself. And I think we thought we were past a time where one black person represented everybody. But I think what this is showing us is we're somewhere in this like uncomfortable gray area with it, because
I agree.
You know what I mean? Like Will Smith is only in charge of Will Smith, right? But suddenly now
he's a representation
of everybody, and I think that's just a lot for him to have to bear. He just gotta live his own life. I just feel like, you know what I'm saying, at times. I agree. I felt like I had something else. I mean, I don't know. There's again so much. Will Smith can go get the guy that can get away with that is Will Smith. Now maybe he's gonna get away. I don't even know how you define that, right? Because I was telling you, I was watching Bel-Air. The finale, great show. Go watch bingeable. Go watch Bel-Air, man. It's a beautiful show, but. People forget that that's his intellectual property. Yeah. I want to say like after the show was over, he bought the character, he bought everything. That's how he was able to do so much. I think
so. And like in his book you'll read, Carlton told him when he was on set trying to figure out what should my character name be. He told him, you need to make it your name because people will forever remember you as that. And as I'm watching Bel-Air, I was thinking like the character Will, like you Will. I don't even know your first name.
And see, that's the thing. I think that he's special in this creative Hollywood space. In that, so I'm watching the show, right? The show goes off, and it's the finale. So they're trying to show you the next show. They want you to pay another month for, right?
Pay another month.
And it was that Craig Robinson show, right? Yeah. And so that show opens with a scene that takes place in 1988. And I pay, being a musician, a producer, a lot of how I'm trying to get in the music industry is getting, my music on shows. I'm paying attention to the music that's in there. Yeah. First song is Parents Just Don't Understand. So you go from Will Smith intellectual property to Will Smith intellectual property. When he had that content piece, I think it was called Storytime or Storybook or something like that, where he actually had a really good piece about how he was showing how he helped Jada's brother get into the music industry, or excuse me, the film industry. And in that, they told the story. They have their Overbrook is their film company.
Yes, Overbrook.
You can't just cancel Will Smith. He's a huge part of the entertainment, music, film in general. Yeah, in general. So it's just like because that C-list celebrity can't do it, don't mean that Will can't do it. Yep. You know what I mean? You gotta know who you are at all times and pick your spots. It ain't the first time he slapped somebody in public. You see what I'm saying?
That's the thing too. It's not the first time. It's just that it's on a bigger stage.
Yeah,
that's all that it is.
I guess they didn't know what. Trying to find out really.
They don't know it being from Philly me.
Hey, bleep that out. Bleep that out. But yeah, is that all the Will Smith takes?
I think we good with Will.
I think we're only still talking about it because they talking about taking that Oscar away,
which is insane.
To me, it's almost like somebody said, talk about taking his Oscar away for 2 weeks, and then say, get him an apology. He'll never do it again. It's fine, right? Because if anybody we can count on not doing something like that again, it's Will.
He's not gonna do it
again. And keep his wife's name out your mouth, maybe because the next person to get ready to load up a joke, boy, they don't think twice.
Oh, they ain't gonna do it. Oh my gosh.
All right, so. And I hope because you're supposed to look up some stats on this next one for me, right?
What's this one?
So we got Spring Jam coming, right?
Yes.
Because it was funny because when we were doing pre-production, I was loading up to talk to you about this. I was ready to throw. I felt like I had to throw my cape on behind this, right? All right, who's the last Spring Jam? Because it's been COVID and all that. Who's the last Spring Jam guest?
Wasn't it Yachty?
It was Lil Yachty, I think.
Yeah, it was Yachty.
Right? Lil
Yachty.
Yachty.
Go from Yachty to Gravy.
Young Gravy. So we got to start the Campus Culture Twitter page, right?
Okay.
So what's your Twitter?
Oh, my Twitter is Niyah, so Niya, 3 A's and then an underscore.
I am, my old one got shut down. I am one, the letter LBEA1. Whatever, I'll be on there. I get it in. But tweet at us, right? We just, first of all, we want to find out, do you know who Young Gravy is?
Exactly.
Do you know who Young Gravy is, right? I know who Young Gravy is.
I didn't know who Young Gravy was.
All right, so remember, I'm trying to get a major placement. I'm reaching out to artists. I'm paying attention to all the new up-and-coming artists. I've been knowing who Young Gravy. He's been around maybe 5 or 6 years. Mm-hmm. I want to say, he's a bit of like, when he was like kind of one of the last in on the blog era, right?
Yeah.
But full circle moment. So one of the artists I work closely with is Yuneer Gainz, right? He was a guest at our ISYM hip hop camp last summer. Mm-hmm. He was also a guest lecturer for our songwriting course in the music department last year, right? So he, T-Pain been streaming heavy, right? Mm-hmm. T-Pain is building a media conglomerate over there, right?
Literally.
Yeah, so he's doing he's got a gaming company, he's got a podcast, and he jumps on, he's got this competition called the March Madness Song Competition. And Yuneer got reviewed by him twice and then wound up in the competition. Mm-hmm. He actually narrowly lost this past weekend. But, so, Yuneer's got that connection with T-Pain.
Right.
T-Pain, so my favorite song. So, I be promoting, I got a big platform.
Already know.
The Menu playlist on Spotify, right?
Tune in.
T-Pain got a song, #The Menu. T-Pain got a song with Young Gravy called Hot Tub. It's in the top 10 on my playlist. So I'm ready to cape up like, Hot Tub it's a free concert. All you need is an iCard. I'm in there.
iCard?
Are they even checking?
I don't even think so, because it's on a quad.
Because the first thing that popped in my mind is, because again, this is where I realized the average music consumer, there's this line where you're a super consumer.
In a regular, yes.
Well, but then before you become an entertainer, so before you become that person, you got to kind of cross over into that line. I think a lot of people don't realize I'm making music. I'm trying to find out again who
find everybody,
right? Who's a new artist? I'm scouring the blogs and everything. So I knew T-Pain is doing that Wisconsin when he y'all remember the song? He rhymed the line. Well,
I know what you're talking about.
He rhymed mansion.
Oh well, it's something. I can tell ain't nothing to the thing.
So he got a whole tour now called the Wisconsin tour, right?
Really?
Yeah, and he comes through the Midwest. And the first thing I'm thinking, what if Young Gravy brought out T-Pain? Would you still be mad then?
I would not. I would not be mad then. But for that to be the headliner.
So what does the student body say? And what were the options?
Who was Young Gravy?
What was the ballot? When was the vote? Tell me more about that.
Okay, so the ballot was a couple weeks ago, and I don't remember everybody that was on it, but it was Flo Milli. I'm talking about popular artists, people that everybody knows, right? Young Gravy was not on the ballot. So how do we go from not being on the ballot to being the?
I mean, I could guess.
What do you? No money. Money. I know.
Can I tell you something? I was trying to work with, is it Student Affairs? Yeah, I think it's Student Affairs, right? Because they be putting on little shows and stuff. I was trying to bring Wallow to campus through Student Affairs.
Wallow?
Yeah, Wallow.
Get out! I love Wallow.
I got a clip with Wallow. It's in my story. I met him at A3C. I was trying to, but it's money. If for everything y'all see that we actually do, right? There's 10 things that I'm in the process of fighting somebody with behind the scenes trying to get some money for it, right? I love my music department. I'm tired because the last 3 weeks I've been fighting to make sure we have everything we need for when Burn One gets here because we're the University of Illinois. We're a Big Ten, you know what I'm saying, institution. So, you know, like you said, if you bring Yachty here, it better feel like this was the place for Yachty to be. Because, you know, Wallow, I think he went to Michigan, right? He went to one of their football games.
Yeah.
He was on the sidelines.
He's always at Jackson State.
Yeah.
24/7.
Yeah. And I was like, yo, that'd be a good look for us to have him here at Follinger.
I'd be front. Wallow.
Look, to me, listen, we invite him to a football game. We do a podcast at Follinger.
Do you know how much attention that would bring to the program itself? Like, in terms of one reel, I watch his all the time in the morning, Jackson State, all of the things. What?
You saying
they would
that,
eat it up.
But, you know, as a sidebar, we got a lot of turnover right now. We by all accounts, we had a somewhat successful sports season, and we've had a lot of turnover. Is that because people are good and they get other jobs, or what's the deal there?
Well, with the girls' basketball team, I mean, that was long overdue in my opinion.
Well,
I think with that one, it was long
overdue. It was. I mean, I ain't gonna say nothing because I went to a couple games. They fought valiantly. You know what I'm saying? That offense was a little stagnant, but you know.
I agree.
But so this brings me to the question I was really gonna ask you.
Yeah.
So we went from Little Yachty, which, by the way, Little Yachty has a huge white audience.
Yes.
Let's not forget. To now Young Gravy. And I respect all artists, right?
Yes.
But is how the student body feeling about Young Gravy, is that a cultural issue?
I don't think it's a cultural issue because, like, to be frank, like, I have a lot of friends of different races and ethnicities. Everybody's posting, like, who is Young Gravy. Nobody knows. So I don't think it's just like a, you know, a black community thing or something. No, I think people genuinely just don't know who he is, and it's just like, So I think that the return of investment may not be as great for all of the student body as they think it will be.
I think that one thing that's becoming clear is, you know, even large institutions like ours are having to come to terms with the fact that just coming off of COVID, budgets are tight.
Yes.
Period. And I just think that this is a result of, even though it could potentially be a cultural issue, I think it's just a result of not enough money, right?
I agree.
So, speaking of cultural issues,
let's talk about
on
it.
campus. So I love our Chancellor is black, Robert Jones. He had to send out another email regarding, I guess you would call them acts of hate. Is the best way to describe it?
Yeah, I would say acts of hate. That would be the best thing, yeah.
They leaving like bags of rocks and hateful messages and something around campus.
Which has something that relates to the Ku Klux Klan. And,
This is just wild because I think the thing we're talking about in pre-production, right? Like the difference between something that is like clearly hateful, but other than annoying people or maybe menacing people, doesn't really move the needle.
Exactly.
It's not
as much as they think.
It's not policy. It's not legislation. You're not stopping nobody from getting no job. You know what I'm saying? But it's still a problem. I mean, how does the student body? What does the culture feel about that?
Yeah. So it's so interesting because I'll just even go back to one of my, what I feel like was my welcome to a PWI moment. Freshman year, it was the noose in Allen Hall.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah,
and I mean, like students, like the black community went crazy. Everybody was on Snapchat. Everybody was like, woo woo. And I remember he was going through PAR, like casually just walking around. Like, how is this okay? And so that was like.
Somebody was carrying the noose?
No. He had it in the elevator.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Of Allen Hall. And somebody took a picture and it spread and it was like a really big deal. Yeah. And so I remember just being on all facets in front of it because as a freshman, you're like, this real. You know, like I went to a private school, but I went to an all-black high school. And so I've been around this space, but now I'm here every day, and this will be the first thought that you have. Like, that's different in terms of mindset. And there were black RAs who were like, people at the university were telling them, like, well, don't say anything. Just keep, like everybody was
say everything. What you mean, don't say anything?
Yeah,
say everything.
It was so.
You nodding your head, somebody nodding their head over there. This was real.
Yes, it was real, and so it was just like a really big deal. And so seeing the chancellor's email, I didn't see it at first. One of my friends texted me like, "Yo, what's going on?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Look at your email. The chancellor just emailed. What are you talking about?" And I open it, and I'm just like, it didn't do anything. So like, to that person,
it's like the same thing coming back to the noose, right?
Yeah,
like that's very serious.
Very serious.
But it's like, what you gonna do? Hang me? You better bring everybody.
Very serious. And for me, I think it's also one of those things where it's a reminder to us as a community that all of these racial ideas or slavery, all of these things are not as far away as we think they were. Like, we just think this is ancient history, and it's not, because it's a generational thing of just mindsets being passed on and on. And for me as a black person, I didn't even know really what the reference for a noose was. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to know, like, okay, whoa, like this is something, and to research it and learn. But it's so unfortunate that like even people who are not of our race, like this is the first thought that you had, like I'm gonna leave this noose in the elevator. Why would you do that?
I remember when I first learned about how the NAACP used to hang a flag outside their headquarters every time a black man was hanged, and then by how they had to stop doing it because they were about to lose their lease and the whole nine. And I didn't really fully understand it until so many black people started getting killed on camera.
Yep.
And I realized, like, oh, this is happening so often. We need to let y'all know.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So, look, when it comes to what happens around diversity, equity, inclusion, and response to acts of hate, right? I'm jaded, right? We're in a place like where it's supposed to be probably better than other places in America.
Yeah.
This is a place of research and higher thought and progressive thinking, and so the response is generally better. But again, like I just assume nothing will be done, right? And so in a previous iteration of Campus Culture, in one of our shorts, we had Victor Figueroa on, right? And so, we did the Don't Touch My Hair episode because he was filing complaints. People was touching his hair and the school wasn't doing nothing. So we're having this conversation. I remember the Office for Access and Equity and the Office for the Vice Chancellor for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, they called me about Victor's complaints. Because I thought about that when, we were having this discussion. I go, it was kind of like the same conversation in NFL. It's like, we want this, because we done forgot about this.
Yep.
Well, suddenly we can get this, so we'll take this for now. It's kind of like we always got to take these I guess moral victory, or I guess it's consolation prize.
Yep.
If you want to call
That's
it that.
real.
You see what I'm saying?
And I think for just you, even before I was co-hosting in a platform, to just give a clap, because for them to get the call, you to get the call, it just shows, okay, somebody hears, somebody sees, and I think that's the first step. I just want you to know that Victor felt this way.
Thank you, and I appreciate that, because I think my initial instinct was, hey, they're not gonna straightforward take our complaint, right?
At all.
I've been so black for so long that I almost forget that my first instinct is go to the side door. So it was like, oh, hey, what do we do well? We tell our narrative well. We use our voice well. We're gonna do that first, thinking nothing's gonna happen, and sure enough, that was the thing.
Happens.
Because that got a lot of views.
So it's also PR too.
Yeah.
Like when it's one thing that can be masked and it's in my email, and I know that you won't go out and say anything about it, you put it to the side. Yeah. When it's something coming towards my brand or the Illini, and we're trying to say that we're a diverse university, and now we're this happening. Oh, let's address it. Because from Professor.
After the last podcast, I was like, I'm gonna get a phone call from somebody, because we came to the table with solutions, but we put a big university entity on Front Street.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And so I'm used to doing that. It's kind of like Jay-Z said, pray for me, dog. One day I'm going to have to pay for these thoughts. That's really how I feel like. I'm going to get that letter. I'm going to get that call one day. The other shoe going to drop. But, I'm willing to fall on that sword. You know what I'm saying? So,
which is admirable.
Yeah, I appreciate you. So something else that happened in February, right? That Kanye doc.
Amazing.
Go ahead. Kick it off.
You already know. I love it. So it's so interesting because it came out at a controversial time, right, where Kanye is going through his personal battles and all of these things, and it came out, and it was amazing, y'all. It's on Netflix if you haven't watched. It's called Genius, 3-part series. But how did you feel? Because I'll tell you, you give me one emotion that you felt after watching, I'll give you one. Mine was inspirational. I was inspired.
It's hard to put this in one word, but just because of some of the stuff I've been through in my life, like it was just hard not to see.
You can relate more than anybody.
I seen such like a smaller version of myself, right? Because like when College Dropout came out, you know what I'm saying, when he said, I promise, I'm so self-conscious, she has no idea what she doing in college, that she majored in, don't make no money. When he said she'll just stay down here and do hair, I knew that girl. Like I knew her daughter, and like that was just such a real story. And I was thinking about dropping out at that time. But then also, like, Kanye is a big part of the reason I became a producer. You know what I'm saying? Right? And then I'll just go ahead and throw this out there because I'm past giving any, right? I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder about 10 years ago.
Really?
Right? And finally being able to, like, live that truth in reality and be able to see, like, oh, I know what bro is going through. You know what I'm saying? So,
wow. Yeah. You can really. This is a whole different lens you're looking through, though.
Well, it was interesting. One thing that sticks out to me is in that third episode, right? So Coodie comes back and
he was crying.
Yeah. Well, here's what made it hard for me. Them times that Coodie cut the camera off.
Yes.
See, Coodie didn't cut the camera off. He thinks he cut it off because he was showing his friend in a vulnerable state. Kanye don't care. Coodie cut the camera off because he was uncomfortable. And the reason that hit me in my gut was because what I wanted to tell Coodie in that moment is Kanye can't turn his brain off. You're uncomfortable. He's got to live with that 24/7. You see what I'm saying?
Ooh.
And so
what do you feel as a person who, understands, what do you feel like would have been the best alternative for Coodie? Keep the camera on?
I mean, if he follow Kanye's lead, Kanye gonna let you know what he's okay with and what he's not. Because he followed him for 6 years and he said, turn the camera off one day.
Yeah.
And then one day he said, turn the camera on. That's all you could really do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got to understand that the same place where all these amazing songs come from, the same place where that sweaty airplane freestyle come from, is the same place where I Got Enough Money to Hurt You come from. And that's a hard thing for people to deal with. Like, this is, as much as you can, look at it, be like, that's crazy. Even if you were in his family, you're affected by it, you can put it away for a second.
Yeah.
That's him 24/7. Just him up here. You know what I mean?
That's interesting. For me, I was very inspired watching it, I think, because for me, I come from a different thing, right? Coming to colleges and having Your Wrong Sir, the podcast, is when I first figured out I'm a creative person. I had never ever knew that before. Like, it was always, and I do good at school, academics, private school, they say hey to the donors, and not really understand that there was so much more to me. And so having the podcast was really inspiring, and watching it was great for me because I'm in a period now, right, where like I have this big idea for what I want my dreams to be. And I'm like, I know that this podcast can be a big production. And I see I Am Athlete, and I see this, and kudos to them. But I know I could do big, I could do better. And I could see this for myself. And sometimes when you're in school, and school is a full-time job, and then you have these ideas all in your notebook, and you start interning with people, and you start interning with Nike, and you start helping other people, and you get so lost in like, but Aniyha really wants to do this. And so for him, like, being with Rockefeller, he's like, I'm going to spend $33,000 on the Through the Wire video, and I'm going to just make it happen. That, for me, was like, go get it. Go do it, and don't wait.
See, this is where I think the conversation about his mom comes in.
Yes.
Because, so he said, this is going to sound crazy. I'm going to just go ahead and say it.
What you about to say?
I didn't do this pod to not share my innermost thoughts. Like, he was on the Nori Drink Champs. And he said, they talked about when he was with Kim, they used to visit the prisons and stuff. And he said he saw versions of him and himself, or he saw like a version of Andre 3000 who didn't have the same opportunity as him, right? At that time, what I realized is, like, to me, I'm the version of Kanye whose mom made him stay in college. You see what I'm saying? Because I didn't get a chance. Like, Kanye's mom had a really good job. She was a professor. Like, my mom, when I was in school, she was a security guard. You know what I'm saying?
And it's also with that, right? Mindset. One of Ta-Nehisi's quotes, his book called Between the World and Me. And I was so revealing. He was like, a lot of African American people, we make like school seem as if it's an escape. And like some people dread it because it's like, I gotta do this. So in the black community feel like, boy, you better get this degree because it's the only way you can make it,
I think that his transparency showed us that you can make a career out of being creative. Because it was just so many things that I do now that, like, I didn't know what it looked like to be a producer until I saw him do it. And I think about all those times I listened to all them songs that my mom played while we was cleaning up, and I chopped them samples up in my head.
Really?
Like, or I didn't know what it was like to even, like, I'm just thinking about you, like, 20 years ago, this wasn't considered a creative endeavor. You couldn't even do this, what we're doing right now, without like a TV studio, right? So even the idea of like the thoughts that come out of my head or having a segment or 20 minutes of conversation makes you creative, right? Just even expanding the vision of what you can see for yourself, right? Kanye is so, for me personally, so responsible for all of that. I think it's the fearlessness, right?
It's his self-belief is like second to him going into that office. For me, it's like, plugging it through, hey, I want to play this for you. He's putting it in, and she's like, Kanye, can you turn the camera off? And I'm like, how could you listen to Through the Wire and not be like, this it?
See, it's interesting because, and this is the other thing, the perspective for the people who, because Kanye's got fans that are 20 and Kanye's got fans that are 40.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I remember when, who is this dude? It sounds kind of weird. I remember the summer of 03 when Through the Wire was playing. I was working downtown. And every time it would come on, I'd be like, who is this bootleg sounding dude?
Not bootleg.
I used to think, you know what I'm saying? But I thought the beat was dope, you know what I'm saying? But I didn't know the story, right? And he came along at a time where you rap this certain kind of style. Like, even his rap style, it wasn't realized. Totally it was almost like if Tupac really had better metaphors. You know what I'm saying? Because it's very straightforward. Amon Jackson is an engineer in Atlanta. He's worked with so many folks. He said one of the best things that artists are able to do, the greatest artists are able to do, they're able to remove the filter from whatever's in here, getting it out to the world. You know, you remove all the ego, all the pride, all the what you wish you could be, and just tell the truth about yourself. You know what I'm saying?
And I think that was the thing for him. Like, being from Chicago, like me, I can relate. Everybody got this story of being from the hood, and I mean, Lil Durk and G Herbo, of course, they can relate to that. Kanye's like, bro, my mom's a professor. Like, I can't say I was in the trenches. Like, this is who I am, this is my story. And that's admirable, too.
I would say that album, like, low-key, probably kept me from dropping out of college.
Really?
Like, it was like, because I think it was my 4th year. I was deciding, like, am I going to drop out? Am I going to come back an extra semester? Whatever. And I think it took me, like, 4.5. But I remember I was banging that album, like, tough. I was actually going to try to transfer to, like, UIC or something crazy. Somehow, whatever it was, I'm glad I stayed. But, you know, when I think back on that, and then literally, like, I graduated, like, 2 years later, I was making beats and chopping up soul samples. You know what I'm saying? I realized, like, yo, Kanye really had an effect on my psyche as a creative.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
that's amazing. Yeah. And for me, like, I was young. I was, like, 2 when the album came out.
Yeah.
So I know the songs, but, like, it's not me going through it. And so I've never been a huge Kanye fan. I just like some songs he put out.
Yeah.
And then, like, clothing.
Yeah.
And now I feel like I appreciated more of who he was before the Yeezys came, before just all of these different things, but who he was as an artist. I was waiting for the episodes to come out. I'm like, I'm inspired. Like, I want to go get it.
The other thing, so I didn't realize how long it had been since Pablo came out, too. Like, when he played,
that was my album.
I missed the old Kanye. I remixed that probably 8 or 9 times.
Really?
Yeah, because it was basically man, somebody need to do that again. It was like an unofficial remix contest. You know what I'm saying? The other thing that tripped me out is my favorite song off Donda 1 was "Keep My Spirit Alive," which is the version of one he was doing a version of that song in that opening sequence with Rhyme Fest.
Yes.
Yeah. So, man, Rhyme Fest had a photographer back in the day. I'm trying to remember dude's name that we used to work with. Because, man, this gets to go all the way back to, like, Reggie's Rock. You ever heard of Reggie's Rock Club? Is Reggie's Rock Club still open?
What's
Anybody?
that?
It's on State Street, across street from the project used to be. Like, just because I was in the Chicago, like, during the blog era, I was in the Chicago hip-hop scene, like, in the trenches. You know what I'm saying? We was at Double Door. We was at Shrine and Funky Buddha and Butterfly. I know I said hella old right now. You know what I'm saying?
I'm like, what's that?
But, yeah, so I enjoyed it. It was an emotional piece, so it was going to take me a minute for me to get back to it. But yeah.
Ooh, that's going to wrap us up.
That's going to wrap us up.
What didn't we talk about?
What didn't we talk about? I mean, you can't, because, see, I know you. You'll get us talking about it. All right, this is what we need to talk about. Taylor Rooks on the pivot talking about what she wears on camera. I know you got a lot of thoughts about that because you are a woman in sports on camera.
Yeah.
Say one word. Say one word.
One word?
Yeah.
I got a couple. One word. I think I commend her for speaking out and saying something. Me personally, though, I wouldn't care.
Yeah.
That's just me, though.
Yeah.
I think it just comes from different timing. And so my generation is more, like, now, seeing the podcast, I can be more of myself. And back then, she had to, whatever. Of course not going to wear anything outlandish, but if I feel comfortable in a trucker and some ripped jeans, I'm wearing it. And I feel like people should appreciate the content and the value of what's being put out there rather than just other things.
Coming back to black women's hair, just like that, I ain't got nothing to say about what a black woman got on. Listen, that looks great. Other than that, you ain't got nothing to say.
Yes.
Things we didn't talk about, Dreamville Fest.
Yes. We love J. Cole. We love him.
I love Ari Lennox. Lakers are about to miss the playoffs.
They did, didn't they? Did they miss it?
It's not official, but now they saying LeBron faking injuries, so he don't have to play them games.
The play-in games, they just keep missing. It's just not looking too good. Frank Vogel might get fired.
Well, he should get fired.
I don't think
he wants. He doesn't want to continue coaching that team. He don't want nothing to do with that.
They just need to do another rebuilding session around there.
Yeah. And then lastly, because speaking to what happened, our Illini losing in the round of 32 in the NCAA tournament, Curbelo's in the transfer portal, which is like
I saw it. I was like, whoa.
That's got to be like a difference in styles of play or something, because he missed so many games.
He missed a lot of games, and it's so interesting because he helped them get that far last year.
Yeah.
Without him, what?
Well, I mean, I would say the games he came back, they needed him too. I'm just thinking, I guess my concern is he missed so many games that was it concussion?
I don't really know what it was. I don't know the details.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see where he'll end up. He's definitely a great piece. I think he's a really great player. I said that last year, and I was so happy because when Adam left, I'm like, oh, this is his team this year.
And between him and Omar entering the portal, I'm just realizing like it's a new era. Don't get too attached to these guys.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be. Well, actually, I'm be honest. I was surprised Kofi's coming back. Is what they're saying.
Again?
They. I don't know what the word is.
I don't think he's league bound. I'll just put that out there.
At the listen, I don't know.
You think he's quality enough for NBA? No way.
So I think he needs one more season so they can go ahead and let him shoot.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, well, I think that's it.
That wraps us up. This was a pleasure.
Yeah, I appreciate you. And, next time we'll be at Canopy Club. We'll have DJ Burn one, you know what I'm saying? Talking about the history of trap music, you know what I'm saying? A little Gucci Mane and getting into my side of things, you know what I mean? What I do. So appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Hey, that was Campus Culture. I'm Lamont Holden, also known as LetterLBeats, professor of music, audio, and recording technology here at the University of Illinois in the School of Music in the College of Fine and Applied Arts. My co-host, Aniyha Jones.
Yes, Aniyha Jones, host of the Your Wrong Sir podcast, co-host for this amazing platform, Campus Culture, and we appreciate y'all.
We out.
We out.